let's give him praise this morning. Hallelujah. We got the reverb on me. I'm sounding better than I really am today. Reach over and shake somebody's hand. Tell them you're glad to see them in the house of the Lord. Others will be coming in. It's so good to see Tony and Dawn. Different ones here to worship God this morning. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. Y'all need to be sure and shake Sister Ava's hand before you leave today. She's going on a month-long evangelism tour. And but she's going to be preaching out on the East Coast. They need it more out there, so we're going to send them on the trip. We're going to miss you. We're going to be praying that God will use her. She preaches the word out there in the different places. So she'll be back home in about a month. So let's just praise the Lord for that opportunity. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, let's have reach out together and invite the Holy Spirit to touch us today. Father, we acknowledge you in all the ways. And because of the promise that you will guide and direct our footsteps. God, you will oversee and will go before us and make a way where there seems to be no way. Lord, our hand is in your hand because no other hand can help us walk in the waters of life. We're here to worship you this morning. Hallelujah. We are here. Praise you. Oh, Lord. Hallelujah. We're here. Yeah. Give me one more praise and shine come. Let's just glorify the Lord this morning.
The Lord. I want to bless his name this morning. So I want you to work with me. I want you to clap with me. If you want to dance, dance. If you want to walk, walk. But I just want you to worship God this morning. The way he loves to worship. Oh, hallelujah. Do it. Jesus would come and take up our case. Because sometimes we got a lot of cases. I'm not even talking in court. Sometimes it's in our house. Sometimes it's on our job. Sometimes it's with our family. Sometimes it's in church. Sometimes it's Sunday school class. But I'm so glad we serve a God that takes up our case. He's a God of justice. He loves justice. And he loves making the wrong things right. And that's what this song's about. I'm singing this for Dawn this morning. It's called Place of Freedom. Hallelujah, Jesus. Glory to your name. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Hallelujah, God. We just want to worship you. Hallelujah. Oh, I love you today. There's a calm that covers me when I kneel down at your feet. It's a place of healing. It's a place where I Let your presence that you are bigger than everything. Remind us today who we are in you, Jesus, and that your Holy Spirit is living and dwelling inside us. Remind us that we have authority and dominion over everything in this world. Remind us that Jesus overcame so that we would overcome. Remind us that you hold a hope and a future in our hands, God. Remind us this day that we're sons and daughters of the Most High, and that the man, the God in heaven, the Lord of heaven's army, sits on the throne. Oh, yes, it's all nothing. It's all nothing, God. Nothing without you. Oh, surround us, Jesus. Surround us, Jesus. Yes, we need you, God. Oh, Jesus. Surround me. Oh, Jesus.
His presence can touch us today. Your day will be much better. In fact, I almost guarantee you a week. No matter what lies ahead, to go with God is better than going alone. How many feel His presence? Come on, hallelujah. Will they get you up, hallelujah. Hallelujah. You may be seated while you continue to worship the Lord. Ladies Department has asked me to remind you again of the rummage sale coming up the first week in October. Annual rummage sale for the Ladies Department. Of course, we're raising funds to help the church, and the funds go to take care of things that go wrong in the parsonage. A lot of it goes to our children's home. We send to take care of one of the children back in Sevierville, Tennessee. Beautiful home. I've been there. I've been through that home. I've never seen a home set up in such a way where a couple is placed as the parents. They all have their own rooms. They're all connected. It's not a bad place to live if you have to be in that kind of a situation. And so when you give, know that every dollar of that is going to help those children when you get to the children's program or the women's program to do several other things also. And then Potluck Sunday is on the 15th on a Sunday this year because of all that's going on, and other reasons that I'm told. So, ladies, if you would, they're going to need some help on the, not only on that occasion, but also on the rummage sale on the week that it starts, to be here, help us put the things together and cook all the things that we need to sell in the bake sale. So if you've got anything at home that you can release into the work of the Lord, you don't have a way of getting in here, please give me a call, and myself or Ron or somebody will come by and pick up those items for the garage sale. I feel the Lord here this morning, do you? Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I want to take a moment to worship. And one of the important parts is what we bring to the Lord. It doesn't matter what, you don't have to tell me what you brought. That's the thing I love about an offering. An offering is always a gift to somebody. And as you bring your offering this morning, whatever it might be, hold it up before the Lord. Some offerings were actually waiting in the presence of the Lord, signifying that that's who you were giving it to. Somebody say amen. In fact, every time we help somebody out on the street, we're giving to the Lord. He said, as much as you do it, under the least of these, my brother, he said, you're doing it to me. Wouldn't you like to bless Jesus? Wouldn't you like to buy him lunch? Somebody say amen. Giving doesn't just take place in church, really. We're just here one day. But boy, we can give all week long. In fact, there's more to do out in the world than one person can even begin to get started. So you don't overdo it, but you do enough. So that every day your light shines and you touch them. So today, if you brought your tithes, your offerings, the building fund, we just had somebody moved away a while back and is giving a pretty good amount to the church from the sale of property. It's going to help us in several areas, and I think we ought to give the Lord a praise. And God is so good. He is so good. I'd like for the ushers to come. Amen. Josh, I'm going to ask you to lead us in prayer this morning. Ask God to receive what we're about to give.
Dear Father in heaven, we thank you very much for this wonderful day, this wonderful group of family that we have here.
Yes.
Spend together in love with you, Father God. We ask that you bless this gift and the giver and those who cannot give, Father God. Lift up this church, lift up our people, that we can go out into the community strengthened and wise, Father God, to reach out to the hurting.
Yes.
We love you, Jesus. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
And everybody said, Amen. Give him up, please. Hallelujah. Sister Leathers, it's good to have you here this morning. Give her a hand if you will. Praise the Lord.
Say, I never wait. Has God ever given you a reason to shout to Him? You know, the word says shout to the Lord, right? He says to call out on his name, right? And he will be present with us. Well, does God ever given you a reason to shout for his name? Or have you ever been in trouble where you need to shout for his name? God, I tell you what, 2 months ago, the devil tried to steal my family. The devil tried to steal my baby boy from me. He tried to separate me out of the home and cause all this division through his lies and everything. And I went to Brother Smith. I said, Brother Smith, pray for me. He said, I will fast for you. I will fast for your family. Come on, somebody. I moved back into my home Friday night. Me and my family are reunited. And we are, you know what? We are, you know, God has created harmony and peace. Has he given me a reason to shout to him? I've been shouting to him the whole time. Somebody come on with me. Somebody praise his name in this house. Somebody, you don't need a reason to shout to the Lord. Come on to him every day, people. If you're not going to shout to him every day, how is he going to be present in your time of struggle? Amen? Somebody come with me right now and say, Jesus! Jesus! Come on, Jesus! Jesus! I give you Brother Smith, who's going to give you another reason to shout to the Lord. Amen?
I'd like to thank Brother Green for this opportunity to speak this morning. It's a privilege to share his pulpit this morning, and I don't take the duty lightly. I'm not as polished as pastor, of course, but I'm available, and when God requests me to speak, I will always answer that request. And this morning, it gives me great joy that my son is going to read the chapter and the verse for the text.
Good morning, everyone. Is everybody having a blessed day today? Before I read this verse here, I just wanted to let you guys know that I've been dealing with some health issues lately. And I was in the ER on Friday, and now I'm here on Sunday praising the Lord. I texted my friend on Friday night right after I got out of the ER. I said, hey brother, can you pray for me? And he's a youth minister. He's coming out. He's studying to be a youth minister. And he said, you know what? I was slacking on my prayer. And now that you texted me, you gave me a reason to pray today. And I just wanted to let you guys know that God is always working behind the scenes. I had the immediate response to text him, and I just wanted to let you guys know that. So the verse today is Mark chapter 10, verses 46 through 52. And they came to Jericho, and as he went out of Jericho with his disciples, and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat by the highway begging. And when he heard that this was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out and say, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And many charged him that he should hold his peace. But he cried the more a great deal, Thou son of David, have mercy on me. And Jesus stood still and commanded him to be called. And they called the blind man, saying unto him, Be of good comfort, rise, he calleth thee. And he, casting away his garment, rose and came to Jesus. And Jesus answered and said unto him, What wilt thou that I should do unto thee? The blind man said unto him, Lord, that I might receive my sight. And Jesus said unto them, Go thy way, thy faith hath made thee whole. And immediately he received his sight, and followed Jesus in his way.
Thank you. If nothing else becomes of the joy that goes through my soul, to hear my son speak for the Lord. Help me, Holy Spirit. Help me, Holy Spirit. Just like Bartimaeus, so goes my text for this morning. And the title of my message is, I'm Screaming for a Reason. Bear with me for a minute while I set the groundwork for this sermon. But everywhere we look around, people are screaming. Last month, just last month, I'm going to use some things I'm familiar with. The Golden State Warriors were playing the Toronto Raptors in the NBA Finals. And every time Steph Curry made a three-point basket, they would rise out of their feet and holler and scream like they had lost their mind. And funny thing about it, there didn't have to be no scream practice or scream rehearsal. They just jumped to their feet when he made a three-point basket. It happens all the time. Lord help me, forgive me. It happens all the time in Las Vegas. If you ever been to Vegas and walked through the casinos, you can hear screams all over the casinos. People put their money in the slot machines, and when the few dollars comes thousand, they just let out a holler. Funny thing is, no one had to push them, prime them, prod them. They just let out a scream when their few dollars became 1,000. It happens all the time at the concerts. For those of you who are music lovers, you can understand that real music is from the 70s. Groups like Earth, Wind, and Fire, the Eagles. Some of you are too young to know anything about that. But I can remember in my youth, I went to a Luther Vandross concert at the old Cow Palace in San Francisco. And I had some tickets close to the front row. And when Luther came out in that crushed velvet jacket and them shiny Stacey Adams black shoes, and he grabbed that microphone, seems like screams went through the building for about 2 or 3 minutes. The Fairfield Church of God, right here. Early 1970s. The place, they would pack the place. All the pews would be filled. I'll give you a history lesson. All these overflows would be filled. People would be sitting on that stage. 40 choir members sitting up in the choir. Pastor in the group back here in the early 70s. And there wasn't an empty seat in the house. But I don't know if you've ever been in a crowd like that when the Spirit hits. It's like a wave that goes through the congregation and sweeps through. And there's hollering and screaming and running and jumping throughout the church. I've seen people run down this aisle, jump off this stage, shoot out that back door hollering and screaming, come around through the back door and come up and hollering and screaming. And so I was about 10 years old and I was driving one night home with my mom. And I said, Mom, why are all these people in the church always hollering and screaming? I said, why do they scream all the time? She says, well, let me tell you about that. She said, some people come to church with burdens on their heart, with sicknesses in their body, with problems they cannot fix. And the only one that can help them, the only one that can heal them and hope them is the one that sits above them. And once in a while, they just gotta let out a scream. I feel if it worked for Bartimaeus, it ought to work for us. If we screamed at a basketball game, a football game, a lottery game, we ought to be able to come into his house, open up our voice, and scream to the Lord like never before. It's in the Bible. It's in the Gospel of St. Mark. And if you've never read the Gospel in St. Mark, it is a time of excitement. In St. Mark, God proves that He is an awesome God. When you read this particular Gospel, He's so awesome that a woman who's been hemorrhaging from 12 long years discovered God can heal you with or without medicine. She decides she's going to press her way through the crowd and touch the hem of His garment. And somehow she just made up in her mind, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I would be made whole. She presses her way through the crowd and the people all around Jesus. She said, but this woman who says, I got to get to him, grabs the hem of his garments. And when she grabs it, healing virtues came from his body. And Jesus said, who touched me? And the disciples said, Jesus, you're kind of tricky. There's a lot of people around touching you. He said, no, there's a lot of people around me, but somebody touched me. And I kind of had a feeling, I said, just because there's a crowd, don't mean everybody's there for the same reason. And there are some people here today that says, wait, I need a touch. I need to touch him. Did anybody come here today to touch him? Wait, watch the text. Jesus turns around and says, who touched me? And the young lady is kneeling on the ground. Jesus said to her daughter, because of your faith, you have already been made whole. As I read on in the Gospel of St. Mark, Jesus goes to the house of Jairus, and his daughter has now passed away. They called the wailers and the worshipers to come because the little girl who was sick is now dead. But look what the Bible says in Mark chapter 5. Jesus walks in and says, why are y'all making all this noise? They said, well, the little girl is dead. But Jesus says, well, you don't know who I am. I am the resurrection. And can't nothing stay dead around me. Watch what happens. They burst into laughter. And Jesus does something to them that we need to do sometimes. To the people who don't see what we see. He puts them all out. I like it, you see, because some folks that are in your concentric circle of contact can mess up your miracle. So for those of you who believe he does miracles, you might want to do a pew check right quick. Look at your neighbor and say, do you really, really believe he opens blinded eyes? Do you really, really believe he heals cancer, shrinks tumors, opens doors that nobody else can open? If your neighbor don't believe, I will find somewhere else to sit. As I read in chapter 10, he's on his way to Calvary. And he's pressing his way to Calvary, and as he goes through Jericho. And he's with his disciples and a great number of people. And while he's on the way, there's a blind man sitting on the outskirts of the city. And when Bartimaeus hears that it's Jesus, he just turns up the volume and starts screaming, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. And the people around him shockingly tell Bartimaeus, hush up, be quiet, you're overdoing it. It's amazing how people think you're overdoing it when you need God. When the truth of the matter is, when God is the only one that can fix it, why don't you help me holler? Why don't you help me scream? Why don't you help me pray? He cries out the more still, and Jesus stands still and calls the blind man to him. And he asks this question, what do you want me to do for you? And he says, Jesus, I just want to receive my sight. Jesus doesn't touch him. Jesus doesn't give him a prayer cloth. Jesus doesn't put no oil on his forehead. That's all good. That's right. But when he gets ready to heal you, all you need is your faith. Because of your faith. Can I tell you why I'm preaching this morning? Because today, some of us have a reason for our scream. When you need God in your family, you have a reason for your scream. When you need God in your body, you ought to have a reason for your scream. When the enemy has attacked your marriage, you got a reason for your scream. When the devil is trying to destroy you, you have a reason for your scream. If you see your life crumble before your eyes, you have a reason for your scream. Does anybody here today have a reason for their scream? If it worked for Bartimaeus, it ought to work for us. What does your scream say to the Lord in heaven? It means to heaven, I need God. There's two groups of people here today. There's one group of people that don't have any needs. Their money's great. Their marriage is good. Their health is good. And your family's doing good. But I can promise you one thing. There's going to come a day when your name can't get it, your money can't buy it, your check can't write it, and your degrees won't matter. But there's a second group of us here today, though, that we need God right now. Can I tell you something? There's nothing like coming into God's house and saying, Lord, have mercy on me. Let me go back to my text here. Bartimaeus has multiple issues. One, he cannot see. And two, the people around him are the folks he has to depend on. But let me tell you what I like about blind Bartimaeus. Bartimaeus knows how to get a prayer through. He uses what works until he gets what he needs. He cannot see, but he can hear and talk. So he listens well and hollers loudly. Is there anybody here today who refuses to let what you don't have stop from getting you for what you need today? Tell somebody, I'm not going to let this pass me by. I might not have no money, but I can holler. I might not have the job I want, but I can holler. I can still open up my mouth and cry out to the Lord. I believe every time we come to church, there is someone who needs God. You know you need God when the problems that you have no human solution. You know you need God when the devil is trying to pull you back into an old lifestyle that God has already delivered you from. You know you need God when you're sitting here today knowing if God don't pass by, you're going to stay broken. But if God passes by and just looks at your situation, you know that he has the ability and the power to fix it all. Is there anybody here today who needs God like right now? I believe when you need God desperately, you should cry out the more loudly. Because when God is getting ready to do some things, when God is getting ready to restore some things, he will position you and tell you when to holler. It's in the Bible. God says to Joshua in Joshua chapter 6, I want you to go to Jericho, and I'm going to tell you when to scream. Don't just scream for no reason. God says, I'm going to cue you when to holler. He says, march around the city every day. Once a day for 6 days. But he says, don't say a word. When it gets to the 7th day, God tells Joshua, I want you to march around 7th day. But on that 7th lap, when you get there on that 7th time, I want you to scream on purpose. I want you to shout so loudly, blow the horn, because the things that the enemy thought he could keep, I'm going to make him give them all back to you. If God did that for Joshua in his days, I feel like the same God can make the devil give some of that stuff today. I feel like God can give some of that stuff back today. I believe if you holler at the right time, if you open up your mouth and let the Lord know what you need Him for at the right time, He will show up like never before.
That's right.
I was watching Daystar, the Christian channel on TV the other day, channel 234 in my area. Some of you might have seen it. There was a gentleman on there testifying. He had a huge scar on his face. He said his name was Gaither. He said he was from New Orleans. And he said, the reason I act like I act in church, he says, I hope I'm not bothering any of you, but I have a reason to why I act like this. He said, you see the scar on my face? He said, let me tell you how I got it. I was on my rooftop when Hurricane Katrina hit. He said, I couldn't afford to leave. I had 2 twins and a wife and a mother-in-law. And the water rose so quickly, we ended up spending the first night on the rooftop. He said when the levee exploded, we could see the levee's water coming at us. And he said, I heard my mother-in-law gurgle for life. I heard my wife scream and holler. I heard my daughter scream, Daddy, help us. And when the current hit me, I cried out, Lord, help me. He said, just then my face hit an antenna. He said it hurt me, but it gave me something to hold on to. He said, I saw a boat way in the distance. I said, Lord, help me. And he said, that same boat just turned around and came back all the way to me. He said, so I promised God, if he would get me out of something like that, I would holler every chance I get.
That's right.
Tell somebody, if it worked for Bartimaeus, it's got to work for us too. What does your screen say to heaven? Number 1, it says, I need God.
Amen.
If you need God today, tell somebody and tell them, there's some stuff I'm going through that you can't help me get out of. But I know a God who's still able to do it. Amen? Your screen says to heaven, number 1, I need God. Number 2, it says, I am desperate. How many in here today really, really need God? Lord help me here. Just a word of caution, don't take no offense. Just a word of caution here today. Some of the people you roll with, you might not be able to worship with. I'm not talking about people in here. Why do I say that? Because the people around Bartimaeus were a part of what was wrong and not what was right. Instead of helping him scream out for the Lord, they tell Bartimaeus, you're overdoing it. Can I tell you something here? You know you're doing it right when the people around you think you're overdoing it. If you ain't overdoing it, you ain't doing nothing at all. They ought to think you're losing your mind. They ought to say, God, good Lord Almighty, why are you acting like that? Because I need God. You see, Bartimaeus is crying out with all his heart, but they're saying, hush. You see, Bartimaeus had one job. He was a beggar. He hollers out every day. He's like, give me some money. Help me. Hey. Oh, you just going to pass me by? Hey, I need some money. Help me. Bartimaeus was a beggar. But what I found out while I was studying and reading the text is Bartimaeus hollers every day. He hollers every day, all day. But as long as he was hollering and screaming for them, they had nothing to say. But when he stopped crying out to them, and he started crying out to him, now they had something to say. If you're sitting around some people who don't want you to holler, you can tell them this. If he didn't wake you up this morning, he can't make you be quiet.
That's right.
I'm going to holler with everything I've got. I'm going to cry with everything in me. I'm going to holler because I know what God can do. Another thing I like about Bartimaeus is he calls the Lord by his name. See, sometimes you don't have time for a long prayer. Sometimes all I got time for is to call him by his name.
Amen.
Has anybody here today been in a spot where all you can do is call him by his name? And God steps in right on time. There is something about his name. There's healing in his name. There's salvation in his name. There's deliverance in his name. He can turn things around. His name ought to make the church shout. Is there anybody in here today that's ever just cried out his name, Jesus? You see, those who are desperate always see deliverance. You have to make up your mind that no matter what happens, you're going to keep calling until you get what you came for. You can't be deterred by people. You cannot even be deterred or sidetracked by circumstances. You cannot even be deterred by what you see. But you got to keep crying out and telling the Lord shows up in your circumstances and your situation. Somebody ought to cry out one more time this morning.
Jesus!
I'm going to leave you with this. I'm at the Walmart. They're having a rollback sale. Maybe that wasn't no. I'm sorry. I'm at the store next to Walmart. It was Sam's Club in Sacramento. They're having a sale. It's a grand opening sale. Hot dogs and a Coke, 99 cents. I'm in line for mine. The lady in front of me, she just looked like she had woke up. She had pajamas on, a night shirt that was hanging down, slippers, one of them hair things covering her head. And she had 4 kids in front of her. Looked like the only reason she woke up that morning was to take her kids and take advantage of that special on the hot dog and the Coke. It was a long line, and it seemed like they kind of running short on hot dogs. And just about that time, the lady behind the snack bar comes out and says, I have to tell you this, we have no more hot dogs. How did you tell you the truth? I was mad. I couldn't act like I wanted to act because I said, Lord, I got to preach Sunday. Help me. But the sister in front of me, her whole attitude changed. She started out, hey! Hey! And just then, the manager came out. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I was kind of urging her on. Yeah, go ahead, tell her. But her whole attitude changed, and the manager came out, nice shirt, necktie, name badge. He said, "How can I help you, miss?" She said, "I came here for my hot dog. I'm not leaving." He said, "Hold on. I'll be back. Give me a couple minutes." Seemed like a long couple of minutes. And just then, maybe 10, 15 minutes later, here comes the same guy. He had I don't know if you ever seen them tall carts with things level up. He came pushing a whole rack of hot dogs out here, right into the front of the snack bar. And God gave me a realization. If that lady can scream for a hot dog, why can't I come in the house of God and scream like never before? Thank you.
Has Jesus ever turned the boat around for you? Huh? Woo! Come on, somebody shout. Hey! Hallelujah! The message today. If you'd like for Kim to pray for you, this situation, I'd like for you to just come down here real quickly. You got something God has touched you with this message. Don't quit shouting. Come on, you don't shout, you may not get what you want. Hallelujah. How much do you want? How much do you need it? Hallelujah. Come on, man. You know, we go to them games and we can get pretty unwound. Praise the Lord. And it's faith. Faith. Shout by faith. Shout by faith. When I shout by faith, the feelings start to come. Praise God. You know, the enemy hates worship. Sometimes we shout till we can worship, right? Amen. Kim, I want you to come down. Maybe you need a couple of you men to help. We're going to lay hands. And we're going to pray together with these that have come down today. For whatever the need is. Whatever the need is. I can't heal you. But I think you heard the words today. How many believe that God is concerned about your need as he did blind Bartimaeus? Somebody say amen. Well, I don't know, but I think Jesus has been in this service today. Amen? Because I know 2 or 3 of you, and when 2 or 3 join together, he's here today. He's here today. I need some, come on down, Cam. All right, you going to help me pray? I don't know where that cordless mic. Where's that cordless mic from? Don't quit worshiping God now. Come on, we got to provide an atmosphere for the Lord. How many would like to see a miracle? Come on, I need a miracle. Thank you, Jesus. Come on down. Come on down. Amen. We used to sing that song, reach out and touch the Lord. Because he's passing by. He's passing by. Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Make it clear. Hallelujah. When they can read it while they run by, God, do it now in the name of the Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Let your fire burn in your heart, God.
Jesus, thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
Speak through. Speak through. God, burn through.
You reach out to God that's always there with you. Puts about just as real. Never has he left
Your
you.
people are here.
Never has he left you.
Yes, Lord.
Never that time. God brings help us to your feet. In Christ's name, we are all peace. Hey! I'm okay! Ah, God! Hey! But the Son of the living Hallelujah! 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 Come on, somebody praise Him! Somebody shout! Thank you, Lord. I want you to lay hold your hands. Lay hold your hands. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Lord. Lord, we lift me up to you. God, I lift me up to you right now in the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus, I lift. Heal. Move. God, heal her body. Heal. Heal for your glory. Sometimes the government is not a friend. Come on. And something went wrong and we need God to turn the boat around. You believe God can do that? I believe. Jesus. Lord, go into that situation now.
I